Hey, folks. It is April the 26th, and today we're going to finish our discussion of Canada, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Mexico. And after the discussion, I'm going to go through the Google Classroom to make sure I have the documents loaded up for you.
They don't really polar bears.
They're an endangered species, yeah. In fact,
What if they're coming at you?
that's different. Yeah, like you always have the right to self-preservation. And polar bears do actively hunt people. They want to eat you.
So, like, how would you have evidence that you didn't do that just because?
Those Coca-Cola commercials lied to me.
I don't know. But I wouldn't worry so much about the court case whenever the big creature's going to try to make his bear food. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh gosh, what would a jury think, while it's biting your head. So probably not the best course of action.
Do you think the bear would represent himself in court?
Well, not if he's dead.
Well, I mean,
If he does, if he comes back, like if they hold a bear seance and the bear ghost comes into the
what if
courtroom.
he's like survived and he's pressing charges against you for attempted murder?
Then you live in interesting times, very interesting times. And I don't know what to tell you. Here, I'm going to check the Google Classroom real quick, just because this won't make sense for the people watching if they can't follow along. But because they don't see this. In fact, I'd have to pay for the thing is, like Chromebooks, it's hard to get third-party software for me to be able to do things like show the slides I'm looking at and the camera at the same time. Like, hey,
Can I get the names of the three that's gonna eat?
okay. Wait, A lunch. Who was our A lunch? Was it Chloe and Tristan? And B lunch was Brian.
And then who was the big lunch?
Brian.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
Alrighty.
Did anyone actually study for capitalism class?
What?
What's capitalism class?
Dr. Elliot's
Dr.
advice
Elliot.
class.
Oh,
On
hooray!
the other side of the wall.
I don't know. The thing is, a true capitalist doesn't like being called a capitalist. Here, I'll go ahead and post this now. Wow.
Wait, wasn't like the smart goals? I already know what they mean. Specific.
Mine
goals,
are just
right?
a diamond. It's just one.
Because they do a lot of extraction industry in the northern part of Canada, such as oil and diamonds, precious metals, rare earth metals.
So are polar bears, are they technically predators of humans then?
They are if there's humans around. All right, let me open up Mexico.
Aren't killer whales,
I'm gonna ask Dr.
aren't
Elliot.
killer whales a predator of moose?
Moose?
Yeah, moose swim.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think of moose being like a coastal.
Did you know kangaroos
They're
can swim?
They are, but I don't think of them as a coastal creature. Usually, and they do like marshland though. They like eating up roots and all that junk.
Killer whales
like
are the
swimming.
moose's only.
And I know they like
predator.
swimming. They like waterborne plants for their food.
They
But
have been known to prey on moose swimming between islands of North America's northwest coast.
that would be that's a pretty interesting mental image of the killer whale, kind of like a seal snatching the moose out of the air. Maybe they would knock them in there. Kind of like it's sad whenever you see the seals get caught by a moose. I mean, not by a moose. A killer whale. Yeah, if you see a seal being by a moose, run.
Maybe it's an Eskimo run.
Predator.
Run from the Eskimo.
That's well, moose. They're very territorial though.
Meese.
And they will attack cars. Like they see cars as like a competition for where they're at, and they'll just headbutt them.
More people die by moose than bears.
I would believe it. I would.
Really?
Yeah, especially car wrecks.
Dying from
Hitting a moose with a car is no bueno. You don't want
no way
that.
to go out.
Like, how do you hit? They're so big. They're huge.
Well, yeah. You do, but I mean, if you're going down the highway in the dark, and sometimes things happen,
Are
especially
they
if it's
like weird
raining.
where they just don't move?
Well,
That's what
I don't know. I've been in that region before, but I've never been in a situation where I almost ran over a moose. Now, but I'm almost hit deer a lot.
She said she wasn't going fast, but when we went to see, there was a deer chunked across the street. So she said she wasn't going fast, but how did she hit it so hard to where it went across the street?
It depends. Like if I already had forward momentum, like a lot of times when deer are trying to go past an open area, they're really trying to run because they don't feel safe in an open area like they do in the woods. So that's why usually when you see them grazing, it's along the forest line because that way they have a good avenue of escape. But hey, back to class. All right, so yeah, it's April 26th today. We're over Canada and Mexico. I posted the Mexico notes on Thursday or Friday.
Let's do Friday.
Let's do Friday?
Let's do Friday now.
Thursday. But we're going to talk about them Thursday and Friday because Thursday's not enough class time for everybody. Next week, we are going to have class on Monday and Friday, I believe. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, your EOCs. Tuesday and Thursday specifically for most ninth graders. Gosh, I guess that's about it. Senior thesis is Wednesday, but that's not y'all. House meetings Friday. I think that's it. All right, and make sure you're doing your Google Classroom. If you haven't turned it in yet, just go ahead and do it. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to region number 5, the St. Lawrence Lowlands in Canada, also referred to as the Great Lakes region because there are the Great Lakes there. Very small region that includes southern tips of Ontario and Quebec. However, it includes 50% of Canada's population. Well, the thing is about this area of Canada, you have a lot of people who live inside of Canada on the Canadian side of the border, but they'll cross over into America and usually work in American industries. And then they make the commute back home for the evening and the weekends. Extremely fertile soils results in great agriculture. Okay. Some crops that grow well are tobacco, peaches, cherries, grapes, apples, hay, vegetables such as carrots, corn, onions, beets, peas, and beans. So this is more of a temperate region as far as Canada goes. So it's better for some of its farmland.
That sounds like the VeggieTales.
I've tried to get my kids to watch
But it's like-
VeggieTales, but they just don't like it. They do not like
Lots
VeggieTales.
feels cringe, so
I think that was the only thing
I
that
agree with you, Tristan. He's cringe.
I just never watched it, so.
Like the thing is, though, I'm going to say this: it's the CGI is really old looking nowadays.
Herbs.
So,
Herbs.
land covered of the Great Lakes, St. Lawrence Lowlands region. So here you see it has plenty of deciduous coniferous trees. So you see the orange down there. That's where we have a lot of agricultural land. And of course, we have the Great Lakes there as well, which border with the United States of America. And especially like sometimes you'll have a lot of these people, they'll commute into New York, Michigan, Illinois, and so on and so forth for some work and go back home. That's something that's been going on for a while. When we talk about Mexico, we're going to see that there's a lot of people that do the same there. They might work in El Paso, and then they go back home in Mexico. That's another common thing. So you find this a lot in border regions. Come on, you. All right. Hey, hey, come on. You can sit up here or stay here, but just stay seated.
I'll figure you out on this.
The area is also known for its construction materials. For example, its clay has been used for brick and tile manufacturing, and sand gravel deposits are exploited for road, metal, and construction material.
I read that the comma.
Due to its high population, it is also the country's largest manufacturing area.
It should be a comma after road.
I'm sorry, I didn't create this, but I did take it from an open source website. Area region number 6, the Atlantic region. So I'm sure you can figure out this is towards the east. Covers 2% of Canada's area. includes Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island, bound together by fisheries and forest. In fact, a lot of the early settlers in Canada, that was one of the main things that they were there for, was actually due to its abundance of fish in that region of the Atlantic Ocean. In total, it has about 11,200 kilometers of shoreline. So there's a lot of island and coastal region around here. In the 20th century, the Atlantic provinces faltered with slow economic and population growth. For example, as the fishing industry declined, so did many of its jobs. So here you have, for about a couple hundred years, the economy of the region was really based off of whaling and, of course, catching cod. But as a lot of those fish regions dried up and as demand went down, part of the reason why I think demand did go down is because refrigeration. More and more people started getting a taste for beef as like refrigerated boxcars and things like that was able to bring like beef, pork, and chicken to like more urban areas, and it wouldn't spoil because they could actually refrigerate it. Yet, as new century dawns, offshore oil and gas development promises to quicken the economic pace. So yeah, hooray for Canadians and their oil and gas. Yeah. Prince Edward. You're like a man,
Pee. Pipe.
Nice. Surface waters in Canada. We have the 5 main drainage basins: the Hudson Bay, which is that huge thing of water in the middle of it, the Arctic Ocean up north, the Atlantic Ocean to the east, the Pacific Ocean to the west, and Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Gulf of Mexico.
What?
We have territory. The Caribbean.
That doesn't make sense. Okay,
The
these
Pacific
drainage.
water.
There's some land in between the two. These drainage basins not only cycle water around our country, their country, but also can be used for transportation opportunities and hydro dams, fishing, recreation, and provide water for many uses.
Our country, I mean, it's like Canadian.
Maybe so. Oh well.
Trudeau.
Look, I'm looking at this, and
Yeah,
it is not the Gulf of Mexico. Why is there a little yellow thing here? That is, I'm sorry.
It's only
What?
continent Canada.
Did they go to the Gulf of Mexico?
So
Yeah, but,
it's okay. We'll forgive him.
yeah, it's right down on Mexico, I think. Yeah.
I need to Google that. Okay, major drainage basins in Canada.
Ah, tisk. All right. Since unfortunately the next thing I have doesn't actually have a map of Mexico, I'm just going to pull up a Google Images of a map.
Yeah, Gulf of Mexico. It exists.
All right, so next we're going to talk a little bit about human and physical geography of Mexico. So, as you may well know, Texas used to be part of Spanish holdings of Mexico, and then the Mexican used to be part of Mexican state. What was it? Coahuilas y Tejas, I think. And so I'm going to break apart, as you well know, in the early 1800s. And from then on, it's going to be separated. However, Mexico itself will be a rather contiguous country, and we have its borders set shortly after the Mexican-American War, which is something I'm going to discuss in detail in U.S. history in 11th grade.
Dang, Cancun looks different.
I've always been told to stay away from Cancun. I've always been told like stay away from the tourist spots. But I think that was the same in Europe. Like I didn't like the tourist spots in Europe because pickpockets and crowds.
Coastal Mexico.
It just seemed kind of cheesy. I don't know. All right.
Didn't know that. Why is Brownsville so south?
It just is. It just is. It's Texas' most southern major city. Like El Paso, it's a major border region. And a lot of our shipping comes through Brownsville and El Paso. And on the Mexican side of the border, you have a lot of factories that do a lot of the manufacturing on that side of the border that get shipped in here into the United States of America. And there's multiple reasons for that. One is the labor cost is lower on the other side of the border. But another thing too is they're able to buy cheaper energy from the American side of the border, because it's really one of America's strongest economic factors is that per kilowatt electricity is a lot cheaper here in America than anywhere else in the world. So that's one thing that can make some of these called maquiladoras, something like that, the factories over there. And so they make a lot of this stuff like you'll see at the dollar store and stuff like that. A lot of food processing and stuff like that is done on that side of the border. And then they'll ship it into distribution centers that eventually make it to like Walmart, like Target, dollar store and all that stuff, right? So let me open this in a new tab. And we'll start this briefly. And then I'll give you some time to work on your projects and all that good stuff, because I have such a kind heart. So just going to start a little bit with the colonial history of Mexico. So like I said, if you want to know more, I suggest you go read about like the Olmec Indians, the Mayans, the Aztecs, if you want to know more about the prehistory of Mexico. One cool thing is like you see that little sliver of land, Baja California on the west, and there's also been some caves found in South America, found the bones of people that actually predate Native Americans. And genetically, they actually are more related to Aborigines than they are to, say, like Asiatic people or like from northern China. So it's kind of interesting to think that there were actually like Native Americans here before Native Americans, right? So it's like one of those big prehistoric mysteries. All right, so
Actually, it's supposed to be the same 7 past Portuguese.
So whenever we talk about the discovery of a region, it's one of those terms that has a lot of mixed reviews, because people are like, well, how can you discover America if there were already Americans living there? But honestly, usually when people use the term, they're talking about when somebody discovers it, they're talking about like a scientific discovery. We know the thing or the place has always existed or already existed, but now it's reported to the wider world, right?
They weren't creative with their names.
Well, I'm sorry. So Hernan Cortez, Spanish explorer who conquered Mexico. And so as he came in and as he conquered Mexico, he wasn't known for being a very nice guy, right? He wasn't known for being a very nice guy. But the Aztecs, who ruled much of the region in central Mexico, they also weren't very well liked by a lot of the tribes around them, especially the Mayan people, because they would have like ritualistic seasonal wars where they would capture local people and offer them up for daily sacrifices. And so a lot of the tribes were more than willing to join the Spanish to help conquer the Aztecs, though they might have buyer's remorse later on. When we start talking about the encomienda system and things like that, that's going to come up, which was kind of like a form of serfdom that was imposed on Mexico. We'll talk about that later. He described the physical features of Mexico as a crumbled piece of paper. So, and by that it means it had lots of mountain ranges. You had the Sierra Madre Occidental, which is, like Occidental is Latin for the West. Sierra Madre Oriental, and of course, Orient is the Latin word for East. So like if somebody's saying like the Orient, they're saying the East, right? So plateau area of high, wide, flat land lies in between the mountain ranges. I got it paused. All right, you have the Heartland region. There are some natural hazards. Central Plateau is geologically unstable. And because of that, it has to do with tectonic plates. Mexico is located at the intersection of 4 tectonic plate structures: the North American tectonic plate, the Caribbean, the Pacific, and the Cocos plates. So now that's not to say that this region is super prone to earthquakes, though it does happen from time to time. But there's always that potential where sometimes the pressure gives and there's a really big shake. And here we see off of the west coast, we have the Ring of Fire region. Let's see my a little bit more. So, and as you see, there are a lot of inactive volcanoes going all the way through, say, the southern part of Mexico here. So,
Holy crap.
climate factors. Remember, the thing is, though, much like North America, or United States of America, there's multiple different kinds of climate regions within Mexico. So, especially in the north, we have low precipitation, and it's more moderate to the south, though. In southern Mexico, we do get close to some of natural rainforest within Central America. Higher elevation keeps temperatures mild, even though it is in the tropics. So yeah, like once you start getting closer to like Costa Rica and stuff like that, you can have more, get more into the rainforest region. So 4 coastal regions. Number 1 is the northern Pacific coast, hot, dry, and little population. Some of the country's best farmlands because of irrigation. We have Baja California, the most mountainous desert in Mexico off to the west. The southern Pacific coast. We have smaller mountain ranges, little farmland, large tourism business.
I can't. But let's go.
Okay. The Gulf Coast plains, vast deposits of petroleum and natural gas along the plain and offshore, not the lane. One of the world's major oil producing regions. Yeah, and I remember it was a big deal because a lot of South American countries, including Mexico, about, what was it, like 15, maybe 20 years ago, had a lot of U.S. owned oil companies working within their countries. And I think Venezuela and Mexico and maybe another couple of countries nationalized their oil, and they also kept the equipment. And so that was kind of like a big international to do. So, but now I think they do most of their own, extraction. Number 4, the Yucatan Peninsula. It's generally flat, limestone bedrock that creates underground caverns. Landscape is dotted with sinkholes. And so you find this, whenever you have, you also find something similar to this in, let's say, like Florida, where you have rock that's very porous and easily kind of like degrades with like water and stuff like that. You'll have a lot of caverns, but also you have the danger of sinkholes. So you might have a house in the wrong place, and then one day it collapses and you and your house vanish forever. So wouldn't want to live in that. A place of 3 cultures. All right. So what are these 3 cultures that help make up modern Mexico? So here we have Plaza de las Tres Culturas. And so I think that's like what? Plaza's like what, square? Isn't it like a town square? Or like place?
Oh, I think for the town square.
Maybe Lugar. Okay. The 3 cultures is located on the site of Aztec center that fell into Spanish in 1521 battle. So that goes back to Hernán Cortés. In the center, there are restored ruins of an Aztec temple pyramid. One side has a 1609 Spanish church. The other side has twin office buildings of glass and concrete. Let's see, they there. Let's take a look at it. I
Let's
did
do this
click the
first.
link.
Make some more like this.
So there's the church. Where's the pyramid at?
Where's the pyramid?
Oh, is that it? Oh, there it is.
That's the size pyramid.
Neat.
I remember they're like temples.
Yeah, compared to the other buildings, that looks pretty small. I don't know.
You need to make it larger.
It's like under the shadow of like some building over here, and you can see the shadow. Just like the mega structure is covering up the pyramid.
Mexico's famous for preserving its own pyramid.
Was it an Aztec pyramid or was it a Mayan pyramid?
Just try to read that in Spanish.
Ah, that's not fair. Oh my gosh. What does that mean?
That's what I said. I meant that. This, I don't know.
Yeah, what does that bird
You
mean?
know,
So this place is in Aztecs, right?
Let's go back to the slide.
Okay, we'll go back to slides.
It's like reading modern
I
Latin.
think I can get it. I guess not.
Like I'm terrible at reading Spanish. If it's like easy Spanish, I can read it. But if it's like that was like,
Not even Brian.
oh, I see what happened.
I did.
Go back. Ah, I made a scissor place. All right, let's go back down.
We just got
No place of Greek culture.
No,
Cultures. Mestizo.
Yeah, we just did that.
We already finished that one.
Yeah, we just finished it. Yeah. All right, so 3 cultures. You have Native American culture, so that's the Aztecs and the Mayans. You have the Spanish culture. So these were also called the Peninsulares because they came from, the Iberian Peninsula. And you have mestizos. So these are people of Spanish and Native American ancestry.
So like a combination of the two makes sense.
Yeah, but then you also had a 4th subclass too, and that was the mulattoes. Those were like people of African
Yeah,
and
this
Spanish.
is
Yeah, so those, and it took a while for them to like integrate in because it went, people just weren't always nice to one another racially. So
plain old.
Aztecs and the Spaniards. Early 1400s, Aztec capital city of, I can never say it. Tenochtitlan, thank you. Yeah, like Aztec words, oh my gosh, they throw me off. Was the center of an empire, built on an island in a lake, current site of Mexico City. And so that's why, like the Mexican flag has a picture of an eagle on it with a snake. It's because when these folks, the legend goes, since they were looking for a place to live, they were given a sign, essentially, where this eagle came down and swooped up the snake, and they knew that was the place where they had to go live. I got a video on it somewhere.
Do you know that Mexico City is currently sinking?
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
it's currently sinking.
I remember reading it has some of the highest amount of air pollution on Earth. And if you got like asthma, you might want to kind of wear it.
Because it's
You might
surrounded by
want-
mountains.
Yeah. Kind of like LA, it's got like the mountain range kind of blocking off all the smog. So, hey folks, it's been about 30 minutes. We're going to end here and we're going to finish up this part tomorrow. And then we're going to move on to some more of South America after that. And please make sure you use the rest of your time to work on your slides or paper or whatever you're going to do. And we will meet again tomorrow. Good stuff. Oh, yeah. If you haven't done Sunny Island, do it.